Thank you very much. Fellow colleagues of the PM industry, for those of you who don't know me or haven't met before, then my name again is FREDRIK, and I'm the CEO of the metal powder company Höganäs. And it is my distinct privilege and pleasure to be here to speak to you today regarding a topic that I feel very passionate about and what we in Höganäs call a must-win. And that is the sustainability transition, or more specifically, our climate roadmap. In my presentation today, I intend to touch upon three main topics related to our climate roadmap, which then is describing our transition from a fossil dependency into the climate neutral or net zero, if you have it. And the three topics that I will touch upon today are: why do it? Why embark on this journey? What is the motivating factors? How to do it, meaning more in specific our roadmap, how do we construct it? And then some lessons learned, and I must say the lessons learned, of course, so far, since we haven't completed this journey. But let's start here with something more holistic when it comes to the view on sustainability. This is the Earth Overshooting Day. Many of you have probably seen it before. It is a measurement of the status of our planet's ability to sustain life as we know it today. Already by July 28 this year, meaning much earlier than last year, humanity had used up all the natural resources that the Earth can sustainably regenerate. So now for the rest of the year, ladies and gentlemen, mankind will be inflicting an unsustainable toll on our planet. So from now on, you can say that we will in fact be borrowing from the future, and this cannot be sustained over time. And for me, as well as I would assume for you, this should work as a wake-up call. But in this case, this wake-up call does not have a snooze button. So, looking then a little bit at Höganäs here, we at Höganäs, we pride ourselves of our rich and long history of over some 200 years. And for having the ability to actually reinvent ourselves no less than 3 times. Höganäs ventured into coal in the 1700s, then to clay, and now lastly, of course, into the metals. But we are now faced with a disruption from sustainability requirements and hence the change into an electrified world. So the obvious question here is there light at the end of the sustainability transition tunnel? Or is it an oncoming freight train of just cost and capex? This made us at Höganäs make a very defining choice, if you have it, on how to best navigate the oncoming disruption in what we believe will be necessary in order to successfully be able to transition into the 4th reinvention of our company, Höganäs. But before I then jump on to how do we address and how do we view the sustainability journey, let me please first recap a bit about what Höganäs is, to put it in perspective. We are today roughly a $1 billion turnover, 100% dedicated metal powder company. We are global, of course, and we are covering the whole industrial world with 17 manufacturing sites. Only outnumbered by the number of sales offices we have, coupled with our regional customer development centers. We at Höganäs, we pursue 4 powder metal businesses within the 4 main areas. Powder metallurgy, of course, being our core, business, electrification being the second, and here is of course what we have heard of here earlier today, the electromagnetically enhanced metal powders for both active as well as passive components. Then we have surface coating, and lastly but not least, the additive manufacturing. We have some 2,400 dedicated and competent co-workers around the globe, and our ambition is to become climate neutral no later than by 2037, and as well as fully circular within our manufacturing already by 2024. So we have been working at it for quite some time, and we have come the furthest in the circularity so far. So then back to the theme or the topic of today, and speaking a little bit about freight trains here. I believe the speed of change in our various markets, as well as the predictability of how our governments will act, are key factors when it comes to deciding how hard to push the climate roadmap. Let me explain. For Höganäs to be able to assess the speed of transformation in our markets, we started out to monitor all kinds of market and macro data, such as the speed of electrification within automotive, the countries pledging or when they should become climate neutral, etc., etc. We monitored OEMs' ambitions, such as Toyota's claim that they wanted to see a climate neutral car latest by 2030, or Polestar and others joining Exponential Roadmap Initiative and the Race to Zero. All this in order to guesstimate the speed of change. And it is my experience that assessing the speed of change has always been extremely difficult. We tend to overestimate the time it takes to reach the tipping point, but underestimate the speed and scale of ramping up once the tipping point has been reached. So how then to navigate this uncertainty? How to set the tone of how hard to push the sustainability transition? Well, for Höganäs at least, we needed to decide upon a position that we should aim for in terms of the transition. And this position in relation to speed and risk exposure connected to our climate journey. We started out by trying to define the minimum required speed of transition. And by minimum, we meant enough speed not to lose, but to maintain our competitiveness. So we coined the two phrases that you can see on the right, license to operate and license to sell, to help us navigate this. The license to operate was about to secure that we maintain our environmental approvals to be able to continue to run our operations, our manufacturing. And the latter, the license to sell, is what we need to do to achieve and to remain qualified to continue to sell to our customers from a climate compliance perspective. So this was kind of the first step to kind of calibrate and understand. And as you can hear, there was still a lot of uncertainty, but try to make sense of the disruption. So as a next step, and this is what you see on the left, is what we developed, a 4-matrix positioning chart. And as you can see, so what you can see here is that we started initially with the hypothesis that being a pioneer and an early adopter carried too much risk. Too much risk in terms of investing in new, untested, expensive technology, but also switching too early into more perhaps expensive, scarcely available, non-fossil resources, which then would and potentially would inflict crippling impact on our competitiveness. But on the other hand, we knew that if we started to lag, we would run the risk of becoming irrelevant, and we would miss the necessary momentum to safeguard a comfortable buffer to mitigate shortfalls, to secure those two licenses I just mentioned, the license to sell and to operate. So in conclusion here, between these two extreme positions, to eliminate uncertainty, and that meant to eliminate as many unknowns and unknown unknowns as possible when it came to these two licenses, we agreed that it is far safer, more competitiveness hedging position to be the leader than rather to be the follower. So that's really where we then decided to position ourselves more far to the left in this matrix. And as the journey has progressed, we have in addition come to recognize the value and the strength of fast-tracking our way to become climate neutral. Away from a more reactive position, we believe it creates competitiveness. We believe it helps to build strong company culture around a common goal. We believe it helps us in the war for talent. We heard about the great resignation here earlier. And so in short, being a company taking lead and driving positive change is really what we see as a great value in fast-tracking to become climate neutral. So how do we then more practically go about creating and launching our climate roadmap? Well, first let me tell you what we did not do, and that I see over and over again. We did not submit to greenwashing. I believe the consequence of deferring tough choices and pushing out needs for timely development and investment carries a higher risk to our business than taking a deliberate decision on a proactive, well-balanced climate roadmap. So the first thing was for us, in order to more be hands-on with that climate roadmap, that was to size the actual challenge. And as mentioned here, we put a lot of effort in documenting our emissions. And this is what you see here. And we document our emissions, making sure that we could define, consolidate, and later track and trace our progress. And this is, as you can see here, the conclusion we made. We have quite a sizable emission footprint to be managed in a fairly short period of time. And to the importance of being able to document the source behind your carbon footprint. Let me make an analogy here. If a person who is lost in the forest, the problem in finding your way to your destination is normally that you do not know where you are. It's not really where you wish to go, right? The same goes here. You need accurate data on your current footprint as a prerequisite to secure progress and traction going forward. So that was kind of the cornerstone, the first stepping stone for us to create a more robust climate roadmap going forward. And once we obtained the solid data, we could better quantify and qualify our climate roadmap, as well as identify gaps and alternative solutions to our emissions. Starting out with a general ambition to become climate neutral by 2045. That's really where we started this journey. And that was in line with Sweden as a nation, who also have the ambition by 2045, as well as actually the Swedish steel industry in particular. But then after being able to pressure test each scope separately, scope 1, 2, and 3, I assume you guys are aware of that definition. We gradually found ways to further improve and increase the speed of transition. This have rendered our current, more ambitious plan to become fully decarbonized within our own processes, meaning scope 1 and 2, already by 2030. And this is a monumental challenge, I must say. But we're also accelerating our climate ambition and the aim to reach net zero across the entire value chain, our scope 3, also already then by 2033, as you see at the bottom of this slide. So in order for us to achieve these ambitions, just to summarize a bit, we focus on transitioning from fossil fuels to biofuels and electrification. We are developing production processes less dependent on fossil carbon-containing raw materials. We're increasing our energy efficiency and yield, and we are cooperating in our supply chain to lower scope 3 emissions upstream. And then it's a little bit like, again, coming back to the facts speak louder than promises. So we have decided to publicly commit our ambitions by applying, which we did already in May 2022, to the Science Based Target Initiative, SBTi, which will help create transparency and accountability in our targets to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to net zero. And with the SBTi's, our climate roadmap, our action plans toward net zero will be better showcased, and our commitment and progress more transparent to all stakeholders. So how do we then make sure that our emission reductions becomes a benefit to our customers? Well, through documented facts on our product's climate footprint. That's how we're going to do it. What started out already 2017 for Höganäs as a selected conducted activity, life cycle analysis, will now be done for all our products in a very ambitious project. We believe this is the best way to demonstrate our current footprint and to help our customers compare options, but also speak more intelligently with their customers on the value they will be creating by using lower climate footprint materials. This will hopefully prevent what I mentioned before, the greenwashing, and allow objectivity to prevail and business to rightfully be rewarded to companies that do provide the value of a higher degree of sustainability. So then, coming here to the end of my presentation, just to give you guys a little bit of flavor of our key success factors and to give you some of our lessons learned, even though we are not at the end, but rather at the end of the beginning of our climate transition roadmap. I believe having management and owners' commitment there is vital. I also believe that putting trust in facts and numbers, as well as being risk-willing to collaborate with next-generation technology developers, are crucial. I also firmly believe that you should not have a separate sustainability strategy, but a business strategy fueled by sustainability. Hence, Höganäs' own tagline, which is Höganäs Sustainability Business Transformation Strategy. So, in a nutshell, we at Höganäs, we do believe that sustainability, it is an opportunity driving both our short-term and as well as our long-term PM strategy. We see the sustainability transition as a way to remain competitive and to be our customers' preferred partner in fulfilling their respective ambition to become more sustainable. We, Höganäs, as metal powder producer, we are in fact our customers' scope 3. Being the sustainability leader will enable us to be more more timely act and maneuver to safeguard traction, and if necessary, quicker adopt to change. And finally, we at Höganäs, we believe doing good is good business. So that concluded my presentation. This was a very brief introduction to the Höganäs sustainability journey. If you're interested to learn more, please reach out. We have a booth here. We will make a number of different presentations throughout these very exciting and interesting days. So let me end my presentation with a famous quote of the former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, who stated at Stanford, "There can be no plan B because there is no planet B." Thank you all for listening.